I'm Luann Herdloff, a trained moderator and member of the League of Women Voters Park Rapids area. I'm also a resident and voter of District 4. The League of Women Voters of the Park Rapids area is proud to be nonpartisan, neither supporting nor opposing candidates or political parties at any level of government, but always working on vital issues of concern to members and the public. Thank you for attending tonight's event. And I want to introduce, we have currently four county commissioners are here with us tonight. Dave Donut and Tom Kruger and Shar Christensen and Ted Van Kempen. Yep. And also our county auditor, Kay Ray. A very important person, especially when elections are happening. And then we have our candidates seated, well, you can see their names, I hope, but here we have Steve Keranen and Ryan Johnson and Kristin Fake. The fourth candidate is Lyle Howg. He was invited but isn't here yet anyway. If he comes, we'll see him, otherwise not. Thank you all for taking the time to be with us. And thanks also to our member volunteers. There are several members here tonight who helped set up. And also, Anna Holsworth is our timer, one of the key people here. Keep these guys and gal on track. And also thanks to the Akeley Regional Community Center for providing this really nice room for us tonight. I need to make a statement on candidate forum recordings. Carolyn White is doing the recording. The League of Women Voters sponsors candidate forums to provide the public with an opportunity to hear candidates discuss the issues that are important to members of the public. The views expressed in each forum are those of the candidates, not those of the League of Women Voters. League posts complete, unedited recordings of forums. Editing is authorized only for official media reporting. Excerpts of edited clips of candidate forums may not be used for partisan political purposes. This forum is also being recorded by the Park Rapids Enterprise as well as our league. The league video will be posted to YouTube, and the Enterprises is being posted live on Facebook. The candidates received ground rules for this event. As audience members, we ask you to remain as quiet as possible so that everyone may hear. Also, please hold any applause until the forum has ended so candidates can use all their time to answer your questions. The league will determine which questions will be asked and will attempt in good faith to cover areas of interest expressed by the audience and some people who sent in questions prior to tonight. Questions are screened and similar questions are consolidated so as many topics as possible can be covered. Only questions related to county commissioners' role will be asked. No questions of a personal nature that are inappropriately hostile or unclear in intent will be asked. It is our goal to have a civil discussion of the issues and give you information you need to know when you vote. During the event, please raise your hand if you have a question for a volunteer to pick up. We will start the candidate forum with opening statements. Each candidate is given 2 minutes for their opening statement and 2 minutes for a closing statement at the end. The candidates will have 1 minute to answer each question. So let's get started, and please turn off your cell phones if you haven't already. Okay, now comes the challenging task of me keeping the rotation straight. And we're gonna start with, oh, and now I'm really gonna be messed up. Because we're missing someone. All right, well, we'll start with Steve here. And do your, for your opinion.
Yep. Good evening. My name is Steve Keranen. I would like to thank the League of Women Voters for sponsoring tonight's candidate forum. I would like to thank all the candidates for participating and the audience for taking the time to be here to get to know the candidates and their respective views. I have prepared a brief history of myself. I was born in Park Rapids, grew up on a family farm in Becker County. I attended school in Monaga, which is where I graduated from. Enlisted in the United States Army directly after high school and served in the Military Intelligence Battalion in the 82nd Airborne Division. After my enlisted term, I returned home. I helped on the farm and worked various jobs. I also served as a member of the Minnesota Army National Guard from 2005 to 2009. I met my wife, and she convinced me to use my GI Bill to attend college. I enrolled at Bemidji State University and graduated with a Bachelor of Science degree in Geography in the field of Park and Recreation and Land Use Planning. I've lived in Hubbard County for over 30 years, raised 2 children, and now I have several grandchildren in the area. I resided in the city of Akeley for a few years and served on the city council for a short period of time before moving outside of the city limits with my growing family. I have lived in Mantrap Township for over 25 years and still call it home today. I have served the township for over the last 20 years in several different capacities, as a planning commission member, as an election judge, and as a township supervisor, many of those years as chair of the township board. I'm currently employed full-time with the Cass County Highway Department, and I've worked there for 20 years. I am currently working as a senior engineering technician in the Sign and Bridge office. I have been interested in local government for many years. I have considered a commissioner position several times in the past, but the timing never quite felt right. Now is the time and the opportunity is here, so my commitment to serve is strong, and I have wide experience and knowledge base to help me in the duties of the office to guide Hubbard County as it moves forward into the future. I'm committed to serving Hubbard County and its constituents, specifically the residents, townships, and cities of District 4. Thank you.
Go ahead, Ryan.
All right. My name is Ryan Johnson. Once again, I'm sure we're all going to thank the League of Women Voters for putting this on, everybody for showing up, and my fellow candidates for coming up here so we can debate the issues. I was born and raised in the area, split my time between Hubbard County and Bemidji growing up. I've been a resident of Guthrie Township for the last 20 years. Called it a home of record while I was on military service. I didn't join until Mr. Keranen got out, but got my 20-year letter last year. So devoted a lifetime of service and ready to continue to keep serving. I feel that county government, along with township government, city government, is grassroots government. And without a willingness to engage, a willingness to try to fill the seat, then we're gonna be in deep trouble. As I notice, especially at the township meetings, we don't get very much participation from the public. So hoping to use this stage as an opportunity to engage my fellow neighbors and get everybody involved. And yeah, grassroots politics doesn't work without grassroots organization. So that's why I'm running, and we'll see where we can go from there.
Very good. Kristin?
Good evening. Thank you all for coming out. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Kristin Fake. I live just north of Akeley. I am not a politician. Hell, most of the time I'm not politically correct. I grew up in a small town of Delano when Delano was still the country. I started working when I was 13 years old and I've never stopped. Over the years I've owned and managed numerous businesses, and I moved up to this area 17 years ago. I have never regretted it. I sat on the board of the Akeley Chamber of Commerce for 10 years. I currently sit on the board of the Hubbard County Housing and Redevelopment Authority, holding the title of secretary. At this time, I'm semi-retired. I spend my free time playing with my grandchildren and raising chickens. During my time working with the Akeley Chamber, I became aware of the lack of adequate, affordable housing in the area. I began acquiring distressed local properties, renovating them up to livable standards, and placing them back into the local housing market. While working in this market, I came to realize that District 4, our district, has been historically unrepresented at the county level. The bulk of government funding seems to get stuck within the city limits of Park Rapids, with very little making it to our area. That is one issue that prompted me to seek out this candidacy. My goal as a county commissioner would be to see that county resources are allocated to our area on a much larger scale than is currently happening. As county commissioner, I'd also address the lack of transparency in our county government. I feel too many things are decided off the record without public accountability. I would hold our government up to higher standards. Property values and high taxes are also a concern. Our politicians have told us that the doubling of our property values in the county will not result in commensurate tax increases. I would hold the Board of Commissioners to that promise, or very soon, none of us will be able to live here.
Very good. Well, you answered a couple of the questions in your opening remarks, which is just fine. So we're gonna get right into it here. There were several ways to word this question, but we worked out this one. As a county commissioner, what measures, if any, would you support to reinforce or ensure voter confidence in our elections? And then I'll have a follow-up question to that. And let's go, Kristin first.
What government measures? I think that, again, accountability and transparency are the real thing. We need to hold our commissioners, as well as the rest of our government, up to the standards of answering our questions.
Ryan?
As far as promoting voter confidence, unfortunately, Kristin already hit it, so I sound like a parrot, but transparency is key. As long as Ms. Rave, you know, she's very easy to work with, and she'll answer any questions that any citizens have when they talk to her and ask her. So as long as you're engaged and willing to double check, you can find the answers typically, but you do have to be willing to engage.
Okay, Steve?
Well, I've served as an election judge and I've seen how the process works. I understand that. I've got confidence in the system. I have confidence in our county, the way they handle it. As far as confidence in voting for someone, I think the best candidate for each person is going to vary. Some people have a different outlook on life and politics in a whole. So I've always been one to think that whatever my job performance is what you're gonna vote on. And I think I've got a good track record so far.
Very good. And the follow-up would be, what could you do as a county commissioner to support our county auditor, her staff, and election judges during an election? We'll do the same order just so it's like even.
So I always have to go first?
No, just for the follow-up.
Okay. I need the question again.
That's okay. What could you do as a county commissioner to support our county auditor, her staff, and the election judges during an election?
I think the biggest thing as a commissioner is earning the trust of the constituents. I think if we are confident in the process, then our constituents are also going to be confident in it.
Okay, Ryan?
I would engage our county auditor, Ms. Rave, and try to find out where the county could assist her, whether it be resources or personnel, and kind of let us know what she needs, and hopefully we would be able to address the needs. Election judges are a little bit tough. You get out in some of the rural counties, or rural townships, excuse me. So, you know, paperwork, information possibly through the township boards to try to promote more interaction at the election judge level. But, you know, once again, they would have the best resources for that, so I would engage her.
I know the auditor's office puts in some long hours at election time, and it's kind of thankless work as well. They don't get a lot of praise for the work that they do with the staff that they have. I know there's been a lot of talk about part-time staff and whatnot helping out, and I think they have some dedicated employees there. So whatever the auditor's office would need to do the job is what I would consider. I trust their judgment. I trust their foresight into the future. I know going to Mail-in balloting was quite a hot topic for a while. I don't know if all the townships are on board, but then our townships also step up and do a lot of the work as well, and they get things organized enough so that when it does go to the auditor's office for the evening, when they tally the votes, everything's pretty much organized and it's accounted for.
Okay. As a commissioner, would you lobby the state legislature to help Hubbard County residents with large increases in property values and resulting taxes? I think the board lobbies through the Association of Minnesota Counties, but what do you think would be helpful to resolving some of that issue that we've been seeing lately? Steve, I'll let you answer that one first.
It's a tough one to really go after because your values are dictated by the market, and if the market is ebbing and flowing up and down right now, you're still trying to make up for something, the market sales that were 2 years ago in some cases. So it's gonna be kind of a seesaw, so to say. It's gonna go up and down. And I think the state of Minnesota has an overly complicated property tax valuation system myself. And I don't think there's any way that as individuals we can change that. But I've even sat on the township board trying to figure out a way to simplify it, and it is just so difficult because you're trying to please someone by taking into account their argument for a reduction in value, but you have to treat everyone the same, and it gets difficult because then you end up creating little pockets of value that maybe isn't appropriate.
Okay. Kristin, you get that one.
Yeah, I definitely would lobby for the assistance of anybody to help us with addressing our property values. I don't know about anybody else here, but my property value has doubled since 2022, according to this tax statement. I think that definitely needs to be addressed. I think the question of whether our taxes are gonna go up, any way commensurate with the way our property values have gone up needs to be addressed, and that's gonna start with our county commissioners. And if we need to rein our budget in, then we would need to rein our budget in.
Okay, Ryan?
So my property also went up almost double on the last tax statement. However, my taxes did not change. So by the tax value, property values, with the ebb and flow that is the system, my neighbor's house sold for twice what I figured it was gonna be worth in the last year. And the tax burden is still divvied up according to the values across the county. So everything is still commensurate as far as the tax burden we're putting on ourselves. Any assistance the state can give us is worth lobbying for. If we can cut our taxes to our constituents, then we can cut our taxes to our constituents. But the tax system itself, without a complete overhaul to simplify it, is pretty tough. And, you know, I would need to look into some more state programs to see what we could find for assistance, but lobbying is always a good effort.
Okay. Well, speaking of spending money, do you have priorities for the next budget for the sheriff's department and jail? And Kristin, you go first, please.
The jail, unfortunately, is just not big enough for the county that we live in. I think the overhauls would come in staffing. I think it's understaffed. I think that a lot of what we should do is be talking to our judges and figuring out why the sentences maybe aren't a little bit stiffer. I think there should be much more of a deterrent, and maybe we wouldn't be in the issue that we are in this county.
Okay. I just looked up. Steve, next, please.
I don't have a priority for the sheriff's department and the jail. I think the sheriff has been doing an adequate job of basically policing everything that he needs to take care of. You can be more of a politician than a law officer when you become sheriff, and that can be good and bad. But I think the jail is probably, from what I have heard, it's adequately staffed, but I don't know for sure that that is the case. I haven't really studied the sheriff's department too much.
Okay,
So, every time that I look at the county website, just to see what's out there for employment opportunities, there is, every time, a job opening in the public safety department. So staffing is an issue, but staffing's an issue everywhere following COVID. Keep trying to push it. As a county commissioner, I would feel the need to trust the department heads that are in place. I don't have any specific plans as far as improving our public safety department. I would need to engage with the sheriff, see where we're at, talk to the other commissioners because they've got some experience dealing with it. But up in my neck of the woods, thankfully, we don't have very many problems. So we don't have to deal with law enforcement very often, and I don't see any issues.
okay. This one came in tonight and I think is an interesting question. How will you support victim survivors of domestic violence, specifically the emergency shelter that's here in Akeley? And we will have Steve go first. Is that fair? I'm trying to work my sheet here, isn't it?
Well, there are resources out in the public for victims of domestic violence. The Battered Women's Shelter, I believe it covers Beltrami, Hubbard. I don't think Monoman is included in that for counties. It is a very good resource for the people that need it. I guess I'm not quite up to date with the latest of where the women's shelter here is. So I guess I just kind of leave it at that.
Okay. Brian,
I also do not currently know the status of the shelter here, but assuming the shelter is up and running and or will be in the very near future, any way that we can assist them to get up and running, get notice out in the public that they are there and they are an asset, ensure that public safety knows they're there to help in any calls that revolve around domestic violence. It's a horrible subject, and it's unfortunate that we have to deal with it as much as we do. And in regards to the legal side, trying to ensure that those victims are safe and feel safe afterward. There are a lot of people that don't have faith in the justice system to be able to enforce orders for protection or no contact orders, because you have to wait until the alleged perpetrator is back on the property to call it in. So, time's up.
I had the privilege of serving on the board for a period of time for the Battered Women's Shelter, and they're doing a phenomenal job with very little resources. What needs to happen is we, as a county, need to put all the resources that we possibly can into supporting the action that's happening here. It is something that's rampant in our county, unfortunately. And I think that, as the other gentleman has said, the biggest thing is really making these women feel safe in a place where they can pull themselves back together and get a better direction on their life. So the shelter is doing a phenomenal job here.
okay. I'll just warn you. So Kristin will be first on this next one, then Steve, and then Ryan. What is your understanding of the current situation with Heritage Living Center and community that the county is trying to sell? And do you have an opinion of whether it should be sold only to a nonprofit or whoever makes the best offer. So, Kristin.
Heritage Living Center is really a sticky situation. Unfortunately, it's losing money, it's bleeding money every month. And the majority of the problem, I believe, was a huge contributing factor was COVID. And we didn't have the residents that we thought we would have. And at that point, we lost our staff. They're understaffed. Finding people to work in this county at anything is difficult, but most especially at some of our living facilities. It needs to be sold, obviously, there's no question. I have no opinion at all who it would be sold to. We just need to cut our losses as a county.
Okay. And what did I say? Steve, you're next.
Heritage Living Center is a wonderful facility. I had a relative who was there for some time, and he absolutely loved it. He loved the staff, and they treated him with respect and dignity. Regretfully, he passed away, but he truly did love his time there. I would prefer a nonprofit purchase the facility. I just think that a nonprofit is going to be driven more toward patient care and instead of making a profit off of it or budget reasons. I just think it's a better way to go.
Okay. What would be your, oh wait, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Here, go ahead.
I have a grid for 4 people. It's so messed up.
So I would also agree that the best case scenario would be not-for-profit, just so they are patient-centered and not profit-driven. Profit-driven tends to limit staff interactions and limit your potential staff because they may not be compensating them as much in regards to the care. There is a shortage of living centers in this part of the state just because of funding and population. And as our populations get older, we definitely need them.
Okay. This time I'll go Steve, Ryan, Kristin. What would be your plan for protecting water quality and quantity, and how would you work through state planning efforts like this, the watershed that have been developed by soil and water districts and other governmental bodies? And do you have concerns about our water quality that you would like to work on? Or
Well,
prioritize, maybe?
I think everybody should be concerned about water quality. I mean, it is the lifeblood of us. I mean, we are a large percentage of water. I was glad to see that the DNR did put a moratorium on the deep water wells, the high volume pumping a few years ago for irrigation purposes. I do think there's a problem with contaminants that have the possibility of leaching into our drinking water, so we need to be very cautious with that. I do appreciate the county board stepping up and being part of the One Watershed, One plans that are out there. I know the Crow Wing is the latest one. Mississippi has one. The Mississippi Headwaters Board does a fantastic job of doing things.
You're fine, keep going.
All right, and the SWCD is an entity all of itself. Then that also leads you into, they do drinking water samples. You can take your samples there and get your water tested to see what you are actually consuming, to make sure it's healthy for you.
But now you need to.
Okay, so Ryan next.
Our water quality and the watersheds in this county are integral to our income as a county with the tourism that we've got coming up here, seasonal recreational housing, lakeshore properties, and it's especially down here in the southern part of District 4, there are a lot of cabins on the lakes. So anything that we can do to help improve the water quality in the lakes and definitely stopping aquatic hitchhikers, you know, and runoff with lawn care products, trying to minimize where they can be used, how they can be used to ensure that we don't contaminate the resources that we have.
Okay, Kristin?
I was a well driller for 7 years, so I have a pretty good grasp of water quality, what affects it, and how to protect it. And in this county, our number one danger to our water quality is pesticide runoff. And as a county commissioner, I would definitely move forward with limiting the amount of acres that are allowed to be under use at any one given time. And I would definitely be looking into the pesticides that are being used, there are many alternatives to pesticides. And I would definitely encourage our larger landowners to be looking into something like that.
Okay, so kind of a related question. Is growth always positive? Why or why not? And we'll start with, well, yeah, so we'll start with Ryan.
I'm a firm believer that growth is not always positive. When I built my house in Guthrie Township, I picked Guthrie Township because at the time we had a 5-acre land minimum. So I knew I had a little bit of space when I got home. I didn't have to worry about seeing my neighbor in their living room from my living room. So we do need some growth, and that's typically in the urban centers. We need some economic growth. We need some housing growth, just so that we can staff all of that. But we don't need growth everywhere all the time.
Okay. Kristin?
That was a crazy open-ended question.
know.
It's kind of a trick question. No, growth is not always a positive thing, but I think that growth managed is always going to bring benefits to a community. Again, as long as it's managed properly. I think it's unchecked growth that is a detriment.
Steve?
Well, I'm of the same thought process. The growth isn't always the best thing in the world, but it is happening, and it's going to continue happening. I don't think there's any stopping it by any means. It's the economic return that you get out of the growth that is the positive of it. There's a lot of increase in housing that's happening. There's building going on. I know just through where I work, I deal with addresses and so forth. I am constantly putting up new address numbers in the areas, and it's hard to believe that people are still wanting to spend the kind of money it takes to build a house nowadays when it is so ridiculously expensive. And but it's happening, and it's going to continue to happen. But the economic impact can be a very positive thing for the area.
Okay. So, do you have any experience with managing lands which include timber that are under the control of Hubbard County? And do you have any thoughts about timber management in Hubbard County? And we'll start with Kristin on that one.
You know, my scope of timber management, what I know about it is basically save a tree, wipe with an owl. Sorry, I have not much to contribute there.
Okay, Steve?
I know several individuals who work in the timber industry, not only managing it, but also in the actual timber harvesting industry. And I know the county's done a pretty good job. I know the land commissioner is retiring. They're gonna have to find a replacement for him, which is gonna be a challenge because there's a lot of things going on. But I think they've done a pretty good job of trying to clean up a lot of the downed stuff that's there, trying to get whatever's marketable out there before it gets to the point that it is just totally useless. It's nothing but basically rotten wood. But you can't force a logger to buy a sale if it's out there for sale. So your market dictates what you're gonna get paid for it. But otherwise, I think the county's doing a very good job.
Ryan?
So unfortunately, the market does dictate timber deals. I have enjoyed watching the current timber collection, where they're not just clear cutting and letting it go, they're leaving some trees out there to seed it naturally and let nature do its thing so that the wildlife can come back in. The concern I have with the timber management is in regards to letting the deadfall get there. You know, hopefully somebody can reach out to the timber industry. I've got a few contacts too, try to get them to come in and harvest that wood in a more timely manner before everything starts falling over naturally, because the aspen definitely has a lifespan. So by us, there is a lot of county forfeit land that goes through the timber process, and there's a lot for the county to manage with that. So just trying to get caught back up so they're not sitting out there for 60 years and trying to harvest them at 40.
Okay. You answered that. Okay, sorry. Steve, you're gonna go first, and then Kristin and Ryan on this one. Wait, were you last time?
I've been last an awful lot. That's one first, yeah.
Wow. We'll fix that next time. Here's one that, what's the mic? I don't know. Do you support landlord reform to help protect low-income families, essentially supporting fair and safe housing? That was all one question, but interesting. So, well, okay, Steve.
Well, I don't know what's meant by landlord reform, the term.
I remember that.
Kind of a complicated issue, I guess, kind of touchy too. Affordable housing has always been a challenge, and part of it is, I think, is due just to the jobs that are here don't support a family very well to rent a 3-bedroom home. It's extremely expensive, but yet if you can't even get into a rental situation, then how on earth do you buy something? A young family has a difficult time getting started nowadays, just because things are so expensive. But I don't know what can be done to reform it, but I think we do need to have safe housing for people and have it available to them.
Okay, Kristin?
Again, I'm not certain what was meant by landlord reform, but I absolutely do support having some sort of oversight over landlords. I know in many of the townships out here, there are no requirements for landlords, properties are not inspected. There are slumlords out there, let's be honest, and with the lack of housing out there, people don't have many choices. They live basically where they can obtain a place to rent, and it's up to the landlords to keep them up to standards, and it's up to us as government agents and county commissioners to hold those landlords accountable for the condition of the properties that so many of our locals are simply forced to live in.
Okay. Ryan?
Boils down to just some enforcement of safe living conditions on the landlords. That's definitely something that can be done at the county level. Most of our rural townships don't even have township ordinances, just because there's so few people there. And that's where the county needs to step in and ensure that those landlords are doing that in a safe manner for those living there. Random plug on the other side, for young homeowners, if you know any, or want people that want to be homeowners, there are great programs out there, first-time home buyers, Habitat for Humanity, there's ways for them to get into a house. So, you know, just help them, teach them.
I'm I'm gonna double up a couple of questions here, cause this is kind of quick. So, and we'll do Ryan first. Then we'll do Kristin, and then we'll do Steve, right? So have you been to a Hubbard County board meeting or watched a board meeting online? And I'll follow that up with, are there any issues that, or concerns that motivated you to run for county commissioner that you haven't already mentioned?
So I have not personally attended or watched a Hubbard County board meeting. When I was living up in Bemidji, I would watch Bemidji City Council meetings. When I was living down in Kansas, I'd go down to my local city, it was Enterprise, and watch their county meetings. And I attend about 3 township meetings a year, just to keep up on everything. My biggest thing is just trying to get people involved, and all I can really do is get my name out there, get people, go shake hands, and try to get people involved. The easiest way I see as a commissioner to get that done is to try to change the time of the meetings. Open it up to the working class, try to get the meetings later in the afternoon. It would take a lot of talking with the other board members to try to make that happen, but it's tough to get public involvement when everybody's at work.
Okay, Kristin?
I have attended county board meeting. I was shocked that there was no one else in attendance but me. I've attended pretty much every city council meeting for the last 10 years in the city of Akeley, and very rarely is that attended, but I expected more at a county level. And I'm not exactly certain how to do it, but if I was elected a commissioner, I would be out there trying to get people involved, whether it's through social media, whether it's through newspaper campaigns, whether it's out at the local bar shaking hands. The problem is the lack of informed, the problem is the lack of people who care to be informed, really, I guess. And I would try to promote some sense of urgency in getting involved in all of our local political meetings.
Steve?
Recently I attended a Hubbard County board meeting. I have watched probably the last year and a half's worth of board meetings online in the archives. So I've tried to keep up or to refresh my memory on some of the things that have been going on. I would like, and I've watched online as well, live, because it's live streamed. If anybody wants to watch, that's a very good opportunity. I had a little trouble with mine the other day. It was really glitchy. I couldn't figure it out. So, but I would like to see perhaps going with satellite meetings in different locations. Maybe having an evening meeting during the summer months, if nothing else. Maybe in the winter have the regular board meeting at the courthouse. But if there were township offices or buildings that were available to have a county board meeting at, that would be fantastic. That way you're out getting input from the public and you get to meet everybody, and probably the township supervisors would be there. So I'm on it. Thank you.
All right, I'm gonna go with Steve, Brian, Kristin. What is your vision for the future of Hubbard County? What changes would you advocate?
Well, my vision for the future is, I think the county has been pretty well run over the last decade or so that I've really been paying attention to county government. Everything comes back to taxes. Everybody is always worried about their taxes going up. There is a certain cost of doing business that has to be expected at the county level, and the only way the county's gonna generate anything is by levying for dollars to be placed onto the taxes. I think into the future, I'd like to see it managed well. I think financially, we're in a pretty good position. There's reserves there to work off of for rainy days. But other than that, I think it's moving well right now.
Oh.
I
Right.
forgot who you said.
You forgot what I said?
No, I forgot who you said.
Oh,
Nice.
yeah, I forgot too.
Yep.
Let me see.
All good. Alright. The employment market is really
Right.
tough.
Go.
The biggest vision for the future for Hubbard County is just trying to promote our county to prospective employees, especially in the higher level jobs as they come open. Get those department heads that we can trust and know that they're gonna do a really good job. As far as changes, I've really enjoyed Hubbard County my entire life. I don't know that I really want anything to change, but I tend to resist change in my personal life too, so.
All right.
Kristin's turn.
Kristin's next, yeah.
No.
Yes.
Okay. My vision for Hubbard County centers completely and probably 90% around housing. We can have all of the employment opportunities here that we can offer, but if there's no place for these people to live, they are not going to come to our county. My vision for Hubbard County includes workforce housing, not only in Park Rapids, but in our district, in District 4. I'd like to see projects done in Akeley and Laporte and down by Chamberlain. We have to stop centering everything that we do in this county around Park Rapids and bring it out to our district here, and that would definitely include housing.
All right. And this time we'll go Kristin, Steve, Ryan. What? Why should I vote for you?
Why should you vote for me? Because I'm not a politician. I don't have an agenda. My only purpose in doing this is to serve the constituents, is to make Hubbard County a better place to live, a better place to live for the locals. A lot of our resources are towards tourism and vacation properties, and I would really like to take our resources and focus them on the local people.
All right. And
I'm not real good at selling myself to anybody. It's a difficult thing for me to do. I've always been of the thought that, you know, my job performance or what I'm doing for you is enough to make a decision if you want a vote for me or not. But I think, along with what much in line with what Kristin was saying, it is the locals that are important. And I think this district, it does seem to kind of lie on the outside as well as District 3, that it doesn't get a lot of participation as far as people interested in county government. And that's one of the reasons why I stepped up and put my name in, filed for the candidacy, because I've always been one to step up and think that if someone has to do the job, it's got to be done. And I think I'm capable of doing it. So thank you.
Ryan.
So, everybody kinda already covered it. I'm sitting up here tonight with my sleeves rolled up, ready to go to work. And that's really all it is. It is tough to sell yourself, the military experience, just like Mr. Keranen's got. You know, my performance has dictated over the years, especially with my supervisors and peers, that they can count on me to get it done. Trying to make somebody new understand that without being able to show you is really hard to do. So, you know, I don't have the experience Mr. Keranen does. I'd like to get there, and this is an opportunity to do that. It may have a little bit of speed bumps along the way and learning and a whole lot of research on my part, but that's it.
All right. We're gonna go to closing statements. So, what order did we do that? Yeah, Kristin.
I'm not a politician. I don't have the answer to all these questions. But I think the answers are out there. I think I could figure out where to find them. I think I could find the people that would help me make the correct decisions. We've got a lot of issues in this county. I'd like to start addressing them. Housing, childcare. There's just so many things that need to be done in so little time. So I am here to serve. That is the only thing I really have to offer is a lot of hard work. I have the time to dedicate to this position, and I'm willing to do it.
Ryan?
Once again, thank you everybody for attending tonight. Thank you to my fellow candidates, and thank you to the League of Women Voters for holding this. That last question was kind of the closing argument anyway, but, you know, we're all up here. All of your options are here because we want to do what we can to help serve Hubbard County and District 4 specifically. My input from my part of District 4 is like Mr. Van Kempen, most of the representation has been down on the southern end. I'd like to see a little bit more representation from up north, just get a wider viewpoint of the county, for the county, just so we're actually addressing the needs of everyone in the county. And that's why I'm running.
Good. Steve?
All right, I prepared something. I really appreciate the League of Women Voters for sponsoring the candidate forum. I'd like to thank the voters of District 4 for their interest in the candidates and their respective positions on all of the issues that were discussed tonight. County government can be quite complex. It's a multitude, or they provide a multitude of services by the county, such as construct and maintain infrastructure, transportation assets, operate solid waste facilities, provide public safety and protect people and property, operate a 911 response system, operate and manage a jail facility, maintain public and historical records, coordinate elections, administer the property tax system, operate a license bureau, administer the shoreland ordinance, provide services and protection for at-risk children and adults, assist veterans with benefits and services, manage public lands and resources, and provide opportunities for outdoor recreation. And in the case of Hubbard County, operate a nursing home campus, which we learned about earlier. And this list can go on. When I started thinking about it, it got longer and longer. My knowledge of how county government works, as well as township and city government operate, I think is an asset for the commissioner position. Plus, 20 years serving the township government makes me the best choice for this position. I'm aware of the challenges that face local government and look forward to finding solutions and addressing those issues now and into the future. I believe in the district and serving this district by listening to what the voters and the public officials of the district have to say and assisting them by any means necessary. By listening or gathering such information from all resources, working together in all aspects of local government to resolve the issues is the best way to move forward in an effective manner. If elected, I plan to attend township and city council meetings in the district as time and schedule permit. I want to hear what the voters of District 4 as well as the county have to say. Thanks again for the opportunity to answer your questions. If I'm fortunate enough to be elected, I look forward to getting to know many more of you. Thank you.
And thank you all for filing. It is so incredibly wonderful to have options, and for you to come forward and take that leap is commendable, I think. I'm supposed to thank you all for coming, taking your time to come this evening. And is this, so Cece will send out links to the video of the forum by Monday?
Maybe tomorrow if it works well.
Okay. So we urge you to share the link with friends, neighbors, etc. And also, if you have any questions about the election, our County Auditor Kate put a wonderful letter together. There's a copy on the back table, just one copy, but it's also on the Hubbard County website. You just have to Google Hubbard County and you're like on the front page, and it's very well done about how to do a mail ballot, which do all the townships
They
in
did,
this?
yes.
We're all mail ballots.
Mhm.
I love mail ballots. So, you should have all received, all the voters who live in this district should have received your primary ballots by now, and you have until May 9th to return them. That does not mean drop them in the mailbox on the 8th, because, yes, we all know how that might go. They would not get them on time. The top two candidates from the field will advance to the next election, and those ballots will be mailed starting about June 23rd. And they need to be returned no later than August 8th. And the video of this forum will be available until August 8th. The decision was made not to do another forum after the primary. But at least 2 of you will be on the ballot. So, voters can review answers, candidates' answers before they cast their ballots this summer. All right,